Hey, g'day all. Welcome to First Contact UFO UAP First Contact. This is me, lad from the woods. This is my UFO channel. I haven't done anything recently on it, but with all the new stuff coming at us left and right and hard and fast and everything else, I thought, well, it's time to do a video. I had brought up a subject here yesterday on Twitter. I'll read it to you guys. Give me a second. Okay, I got to ask this because I'm just looking at a response, MJ Benias, and I had asked him directly. I said, how much actual how much actual research have you done on Bob Lazar? This is what this video is about. And he just answers to me. He says a fair bit. Well, that means nothing to me. What's a fair bit? Did you listen to 1 minute of video? Did you, view 1 minute of video? Did you only watch Jeremy Corbell's documentary, etc.? Now, I've been following Bob since 1989. My cousin was working in Las Vegas as a line cook or some damn thing in one of those big, gambling hotels. Yes, I've never been to Las Vegas, and I will never set foot in Las Vegas. I live here in Canada, and I have no desire to leave this country. Anyways, so basically back in '89 when the first articles came up on channel, I don't remember. Anyway, it was the one that George Knapp is on. And, of course, we didn't get that here in Canada. But my cousin, knowing that I'm extremely interested in the UFO thing, because I had my own sighting in 1969 and then now more recently 2015. Well, of course, 2015 had nothing to do with Bob in 1989. But anyway, it came out. My cousin knew I'd be interested. So at the time, I can't remember if it was VHS, because we had both. We had a VHS and we had a beta machine. So he sent me a tape of the original article. And, well, of course, I freaked out. I'm like, holy shit, this guy worked. Okay, so, but we didn't know who it was. Then the next article came out and they revealed who he was. I mean, when I say articles, I don't mean in the newspapers. I mean in, on the video news. Although he did send me articles at the time that he had clipped for me, but those are long gone to my life. Anyway, so I got these tapes set up, and I can't remember. My father was working in computers at what eventually became Nortel, and he had ways of getting information up. So he was a bit interested in it, but not near as much as me. And Bob and I, around that time, were around the same age. Of course, we lived two completely different lives, but I got him, I understood him. Because there were a lot of guys. My dad was a lot like Bob in those days, what we called cool nerds. I don't remember that we actually used the word nerds. Probably we did, but these were guys that were really smart with computers. They dressed like Bob. Bob looked just like every one of those guys that were, either like at Los Alamos, scientists, all this. They all dressed the same. They all kind of looked the same at that time, and they were all geniuses, but they were kind of cool geniuses. Like my dad was into stuff that was like he'd be trying stuff like Bob with my dad didn't do the jet engine thing, but I mean, that's the kind of thing these guys were into. So anyway, what I'm trying to get to with this is that I've been following Bob since '89. And when Art Bell started doing interviews with Bob and George and Bob and John Lear and other folks, I started listening very attentively. And once YouTube came out, that was the best, because almost everything that Art Bell has done with Bob and people around Bob is preserved there on YouTube. Now, I have listened to every single Art Bell article, meaning, his shows with Bob Lazar. I probably listened to every one of them 1,000 times, possibly more. I virtually have them memorized. And it's hard work. And I don't think a lot of people, I don't know if MJ has done this, kind of in depth. I'm certain that Jeremy Corbell, and we of course know George from the start, has been the man. And it's because of George and Jeremy nowadays that I, have refound my interest in all of it. And, there's certain things that people get really excited about. Stanton Friedman had a blind spot to this whole thing, and I'm seeing it again on the internet here. Some of it's to do with people that haven't lived on the wrong side of the tracks like I have. Like there's the law, and then there was the people I was with. Okay, you get it? And you guys don't seem to contemplate that the FBI, CIA, whatever, here in Canada, RCMP, CSIS, and so on, they can make people disappear. And if you're from the right side of the tracks, okay, the suit and tie crowd, whatever, you guys have no contemplation of what can happen on the other side. I mean, I've seen people disappeared, in the gangster life. I had been threatened at one point by the FBI when I was down in Chicago. A specific FBI officer who's probably long passed away. He was older back then. I was probably only, 31 or something. Anyways, the point is that you guys, you hear this, you might see it on CNN, but you haven't actually experienced what it is to be on the wrong side of the law and the power that they have. And Bob, unfortunately for him, he became on the wrong side of the law when he did what he did and opened his Yap. And for the FBI, CIA, whatever, especially in those days when record keeping wasn't what it is now, most of it was on little paper cards. To this day, I think my birth certificate's still on a little card in a place called Brighton, Michigan, if it still exists there. I had a hell of a time getting my birth certificate after I'd lost it about 25 years ago. And so you got to remember, school records, all this stuff was on paper. There wasn't really computers as such. There was, but nothing like it is today. And there was no Google, there was no internet, there was none of this stuff. There was basic internet. My father, our family here, was the first family in Lanark to actually have internet. And that was only because my father got sick and they had to connect him somehow to work because they said, well, they still needed him because he didn't want to go in. He got throat cancer and he was really nervous about the whole. So they ended up sending him out an old at the time, new Apple computer, one of these little small ones. And there was this big thing and you stuck the phone in the cradle and, it dialed up and he probably got 3 KB a second or something, but whatever. The point is that was so prehistoric compared to what it is now. Okay, so when you guys, especially younger ones like MJ and stuff like that, you're looking at it from the point of view, oh, well, you could Google it, you could YouTube. We didn't have any of that stuff back then. So for someone to make another person disappear, it was quite easy. The Army did it all the time, especially with people they wanted to put into ops or dark ops, black ops, whatever they call it. If those people didn't really have family and, they were, there are lots of people like that, folks. You wouldn't believe it. My mother, once she passes away here in Canada, that's it for my side of the Jones family here in Canada. Okay, so to disappear a person, to go back to their high school, walk in and flash your FBI badge and go, okay, we want to know what information you have on this guy. Boom, boom, they pull out their paper records and the FBI says, we'll be taking that, and don't you ever speak about it, don't you ever talk about this guy, and if you've been asked if you know this guy, you say you never did. It's that simple. Okay, and they can do that with every little thing. And back then, you didn't have a long paper trail. Okay, a lot of people didn't, and I'm certain Bob didn't, just by the way he was doing stuff the way he did. He had that rebellious side, so a paper trail. But I mean, basic things like his high school education, his university education, and stuff like that. Back in those days, easily disappeared. Okay, and same with hospital records. The mistake, and I pointed this out the other day on Twitter, was that the mistake that they made was that they threatened the people at Los Alamos after Bob left there to say, you never knew this guy, he didn't work there, blah, 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 blah. But they forgot I'm assuming it's the FBI that threatened him or some other three-letter organization, and they forgot about that phone book that George Knapp had, or a copy of. And then, of course, when George confronted them, they probably panicked on the phone and went, oh, well, yeah, he actually did work here. Hence the contradiction. And people go, well, they don't really tell people this and tell people that. Yet you'll stand there. The very same people that'll doubt Bob will turn around and absolutely tell me for sure that people were threatened by three-letter agency people over the Roswell incident. Well, we know that they did. We've seen interviews on people that said, yes, we were threatened. But that's not for the people that Bob's information. And it's not like Bob had lived 100 years at that point. I mean, he was my age, so 28, 29 years old. There ain't a lot there. His high school records, birth certificate, all the basic stuff, his social insurance number, or no, what do you guys call it in the state? Social security number? Yeah, okay. And I have one of those, although I've lost it and have no way to find a new one because of the paper bad records in Michigan back in those days. So anyway, when you doubt on Bob stuff like that, you've got to do more research as to how things were back in 1989. Okay? And how easy it was for a three-letter agency to disappear people. It happened in the mob. It happened in all kinds of different things that they needed to disappear people for. They did it on purpose so people could go undercover into countries and never be known. Once they're dead, oh, well, nobody knows who he is. That's the way we want it. Okay? If you don't believe that stuff, then you're the problem. Okay? And I'm not insulting you people. I'm not insulting MJ Banias. But, I look at a picture of him and I go to myself, well, this guy never lived on the same side of the tracks, so he would have no idea on what the three-letter agencies are capable of. He may think he does by reading, but until it's slammed in your face, like I have been through, and a lot of people that were around me at the time, you learn real quick what is and what ain't, and what's true and what ain't in that sphere of influence. And for a guy like Bob, who wasn't a gangster, who wasn't a guy that lived on the other side of the tracks. He was a rebel, certainly. But to have that coming at him, directly to him, of course the man was terrified. And, it's like, I can be disappeared. And yeah, you can disappear in a desert, especially out there, real quick. Just like in that movie Casino, they said. And that's absolutely true on both sides of the law. Okay? And if you don't think that happens, well, then you're living in a bubble that isn't real. And I'm sorry, that's your fault, your problem. You were born where you were born, but you didn't get out of your bubble and go see what things are. So this is why I have no trouble believing that Bob's records were disappeared. The guy is obviously trained. I mean, listen to him talk. Look at the business that he's been running successfully for all these years. And then when Bob talks to people, he can go from the simplest shit to stuff that's so complicated, you're going, huh? Well, I mean, he didn't pick that up from Life magazine, and he didn't have Google or YouTube or any of that shit back in those days. I mean, you had to study. And either he studied on his own and became the equivalent, which is kind of like, I don't think so, or he was actually in universities that the FBI or some other three-letter, I shouldn't pick on the FBI, some three-letter agency said, all right, well, we got to do some shit. He opened his mouth, blah, 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 blah. Let's disappear him. And I mean, it was all of a matter. I mean, and if you look at the history of the FBI too, Hoover and stuff like that, go back in the history and see what they were capable and have done and continue to do to this day. Okay. So, he's mentioning, I'm just going to read this. I asked him if he'd done any actual research. His answer is a fair bit. The man's entire marital house purchasing situation is like a chapter taken from The Sting. His legal problems are also a hell of a joyride. I've spoken to people who knew him personally. It all boils down to whether you believe him. Belief is the enemy. Well, okay, I believe Bob because Bob has said some things in interviews that a guy like me, like I said, from the other side of the tracks, Bob's reaction to a couple of things was like, oh shit, I've seen that before. And it's only people that are, you know, like severely scared about their life. And, you know, he'd been, had the scare of death put into them. And Bob certainly did by that reaction. Now, a guy like MJ may have not caught that, but I've listened to that interview probably about 1,200 times. And I've listened to that one little section, and I'm not going to tell you what that is. You guys need to do your own investigations. And I don't want to say to you, okay, this is what I found. But what Bob did, talking to a man, another person that was on the lines with Art Bell, and I think George was on the line, and Bob was... A guy made a statement, Bob just totally lost it, and, you know, like, yeah, this is what you went through? Okay, I'm not going to get into all those details because I'm trying to stick to one thing here because I'm not real good at trying to stay at one subject on videos, you guys will see. But Bob's reaction was somebody that was, yeah, you're telling the truth, okay? I've seen this before. My life depended on me being able to read people and know what's, you know, where it's going. And I've been pretty successful at it. I've made it to 60 years old, and I left a world that I shouldn't have left at all alive. But anyway, I did. I didn't turn on people. I didn't rat people out. I just did the right thing and maintained my honor. The point is that I've seen there. I've been there. I've lived it. Sorry, MJ, brother, but you haven't. So for you to, you know, look at, well, his housing purchase situation is like a chapter taken from The Sting. Well, Bob is he flies a pirate flag above his fucking house. Okay. And that doesn't mean he's not telling the truth. Okay. You know, lots of things can be done that might look to you, MJ, that is The Sting, but to other people, it's like normal life. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying here? Now, I hope you see this, MJ, because I don't really want to write an entire Twitter thing trying to explain this to you. And this is not to anything to, you know, slap at you or treat you like a piece of crap or, you know, doubt your mind. But you're not thinking far enough outside your bubble, brother. And Bob was living in a town that is absolutely known, or, you know, a state that's absolutely known for everybody playing like The Sting and, you know, both sides of the law and the gray areas and stuff like that. You know, everybody goes on about this thing with the porn, the hooker house or whatever it was. He was hooking up a security system for them. So, I mean, I could have done that. Lots of people could have done that, but Bob was good at that shit. And maybe he did know people because he did ride on, you know, on the edge of being on the other side of the law. I don't believe that he really went against the law, except in the case where he wasn't supposed to speak about his work at S4 and at Papoose Lake. You'll note that I don't say Area 51 because he did not work in Area 51. Okay, and that's been made very clear, steady since 1989. But I'm not going to get into, I'll do other videos to do with Lazar, but the one I want to stick to is people, 99% of the people I see in the UFO world, the UFO Twitter, are basically straight, regular 9 to 5 people, whatever. Then you get the investigator types like UFO Joe and folks like that who are in a different kind of thing. But none of these people have sat on that side of the law. At least I haven't come across them. And you got to look at it from that point of view when it comes to Lazar. And if you don't think that your government's capable of it, I mean, without breaking any confidences on my part, I know people, okay, that was on one side of the law and they decided to go back to the good guy side or supposed good guy side, and they got disappeared. And I haven't seen or heard from them in 30, 40 years. Okay, I know they're not dead, but I also know they've been disappeared. They could be living in Vietnam for all I know, but nothing exists on these people anymore. And it happens all the time. Okay, so we'll just go back quickly over this. It is more than possible that Bob's records could have been disappeared by a 3-letter agency to make his life a living hell for what he had done, and so on. Their mistake was Los Alamos. The other problem that comes up to do with this is, I got a cat fuzz there. Just notice, I got 3 cats. I'm living in a 33-foot trailer. You can imagine what that's like. I got a vacuum like every 3 hours here. We were talking about Bob, the other side of the law, people being disappeared. It's happened here in Canada. I've seen it with the biker gangs and the mob, Italian mob. So unless you've lived that life, you really don't know, how to deal with Bob from that point of view when it's people erasing your life and stuff like that. It's done in the military. It's done even in the three-letter agencies. If they need people to be disappeared, they do it all the time. And, most people agree to it if they're serving in some way, but Bob didn't agree to it. And he was serving until he wasn't, meaning working in that thing. And when he crossed the line, well, of course they went after him. That's what they do. And if you guys can't fathom that, to say, well, his records, okay, well, it's like I said, if you're going to make Bob look like an idiot 30 years later, make his records disappear, right? So now he's just a flake, which some of you obviously think about. MJ wasn't born in those days, certain of that, or he was a very young child. I was 20, well, I was Bob's age, 20, whatever we were. I was 18 in 1980, so 1990, so I was 27, 28. And definitely living in the different side of the law at that time. And learning a lot and learning quick. And I soon left it after that, because it was like, okay, I'm out of here, and I left with my honor intact, and I didn't turn on anybody, and I'm still able to walk and exist in the world because I didn't cross back over a line, but nor do I break the law anymore either. And that's about as we'll ever say as much about that. So basically, yes, Bob's education could have been easily disappeared. Listen to Bob and how he talks and what he knows and stuff like that kind of proves that he has been educated in one shape, form, or another. The government at the time were probably, throwing anything, at the wall, whatever it was, to try and figure out what they have in their possession. And a guy that, makes it in the newspapers to do with this hydrogen car, to do with his rocket bike, a guy that had worked at Los Alamos, who had met or talked to that fellow, what's his name, the big shot that he met, the one that got him the job and go through EG and G and all that guy, fucking mind blank. Anyways, you guys, that have better memory sometimes than me will remember. But anyways, there was just too many things that said, why don't we bring this guy in? We'll throw him on it. He looks like we can manipulate him, or he's weak or whatever. Well, they misjudged Bob too, because Bob's got that rebel side in him, there's no doubt. And his fuck you attitude back to the world, which is good. And thank you, fuck you, bye, like Jim Cornette always says. But yeah. So we'll leave it at that for the educational thing. I'm not saying that I've solved it. Obviously, I haven't, because unless I can actually get copies of those records or somebody gets it, I can't say for 100% sure. But everything that I've learned over the years is telling me that this is what's happened. It's happened to others outside of the UFO thing. I'm sure it's happened to people inside the UFO thing. And probably will happen again. And, you have to have that open mind. And if you're a UFO investigator, then don't become, like these scientists that have no open minds about it. And MJ, brother, you're looking at things from that point of view. Tyson. Okay, and you need to open your mind and spend more time. You said a fair bit. I'm going to go back on Twitter now. It's 12:09 on Sunday morning here in Eastern Ontario, Canada, and I'm going to ask you: what defines a fair bit? Because when I say a fair bit, I've spent thousands of hours, videos and listening to radio programs, listening to other people talk about Bob Lazar, the movies, the documentaries, everything. And I've done it over and over and over again, trying to catch something that would trip him up. Okay. And it's not because I dislike Bob or anything like that. He himself, it's like, do your diligence, which to me makes him a scientist, because scientists are supposed to do their due diligence. MJ, I believe that you haven't, at least not enough. And like I said, I'm going to ask you a bit so I'm not wrong here, and I'll deal with that in another video. We're getting up on 25 minutes here, which was not my intention. I've been having trouble doing any videos for any of my channels, Wicked Tunes, Fishing Camp Life. I've been doing a bit, but I have long COVID and I'm not doing well with it. I don't mean I'm getting sick and dying. It's just, it's like I'm living in, like in ice cold molasses. I just don't have any energy. I'm fatigued. It feels like I'm moving in slow motion all the time. And I wish my friends, you know, from outer space there that seem to be interested in me at least twice in my life would, you know, send a zap down here. And I don't know, the camera suddenly stopped at 26 minutes. Okay. Anyway, so I was saying that, you know, I'd like to get out of this long COVID and get back to my, you know, my life, and you know, and especially doing my YouTube channels and the like. So, all right, well, let's wrap this up. I thank you for coming, and I'll try and do more stuff on the UFO thing because it seems like I have a small following gathering up on Twitter. I have specific things I like to deal with and specific people I like to listen to, and you'll learn those as I go along. MJ's actually not one of them, and nothing specific. It's just that I really haven't had time to sit and watch a whole lot that he's been doing because I've been so involved with the Lazar situation, and of course you know, this the new situation since 2017. Oh, I know, I forgot. The one thing that, and I don't like him very much, I think he's very self-centered, although very intelligent, and he's been around a long time, but I consider him from the time of the UFO snake oil salesman, although I'm not calling him a snake oil salesman. He's just very high on himself and likes to hear himself talk, and that's Stephen Bassett Jr. But in his latest interview with that young fellow, I think his name is Ben from England. I can't remember the channel he's on, but he did an interview with him the other day, and I thought, well, I'll check it out, see if, you know, old Scott is, sorry, Steve Bassett had rounded his edges a little bit. No, he's still very high on himself, but he's also a very intelligent man, and he confirms basically what I've said about the government, disappearing people, disappearing records, all the rest of it. Now, it's in a different context. It has nothing to do with Bob Lazar, but it confirms the stuff that I'm saying. And he's kind of not from my side of the tracks, but I mean, he has researched. No matter what I think of him, you know, with all his hubris, he has done the legwork. He has done the research on everything, not just Lazar like me or a couple things that I'm interested in. Bassett is definitely, I mean, he did those, the mock hearings. I'll go into another video about the mock hearings because among the UFO people, they think that was a big deal. But if you talk to people outside of the UFO thing, which I did at the time, and I was working in, I believe, a strip club actually as a manager there, and you know, this stuff came up on the TV, and I sat and listened to different people's reactions, and none of it was good. It was considered a joke. It was like, you know, blah 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 blah. Anyways, let's not get into that. I thank you for coming and thank you for listening. Please comment. I love to hear comments. Don't be abusive to each other though, because I will block you, get rid of you, whatever it is I can do not to have you on our stuff. And if you would help me out with this channel too, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell when you want new updates from me on this channel, and of course the other channels. My other channels are Wicked Tunes, which is new 60s and 70s style music, and then I have Fishing Camp Life, which is my camp here that I live in an RV. It's kind of like those RV life deals. And then I have my political commentary, talk about whatever the fuck I want kind of thing, and that's A Voice in the Wilderness. So I try to keep it separate. I don't bring my political shit into UFOs unless it's specifically, you know, to do that. I don't bring the political shit into the fishing camp thing because that's supposed to be for fun. So I keep them separate. So hence 4 channels. There was a 5th, Cannabis Life. I'm still not sure I want to go back on that. Not because I have any secrets, you know, or anything like that, or, you know, and I'm not shy to share how I grow or anything. I know, you know, I don't keep stuff secret from other people. I want everybody to grow good weed. But I just I don't know. I have lost interest in it. Let's just say that. And with me suffering through this COVID thing, I've been having hard enough time to do videos as it is. So listen, if you want to support me and the channels, you can go on Patreon, Lad from the Woods. It's called patreon.com/Lad from the Woods. The links are down there. And I do put material and stuff up there as well. And it'll be supporting 4 channels, not just one. And of course, there's links down in the description for other donations if you want to help me keep this going. YouTube really makes it hard to survive. So anyways, that's about it. Everybody be good out there. Keep your minds open out there, folks. And I think we should all be very excited about the next year, about what's going to happen in UFO, UAP, first contact, the world of aliens finally coming to our doorstep, it looks like. Okay? All right, everyone. Be good. Be cool. Peace, long life, and live long and prosper. My new grading since COVID.